අයබෝවන් සබ්බ පාපස්ස අකරණං කුසලස්ස උපසම්පදා සචිත්ත පරියෝධපනං ඒතං බුද්ධාන ශාසනං. Welcome to Dhammahadaya. Well, I think you're right after the New Year celebrations and hope you had a wonderful time with the Sinhala and Hindu New Year celebrations. And today, in Dhammahadaya, we thought of having, usually we have this Dhamma discussion where we discuss many aspects of Buddhism. But today's discussion is going to be somewhat different, yet it is a Dhamma discussion. I'll let you know the difference as we proceed. First of all, I would like to introduce our resource person to you, who is here for the first time with us at this program, Dhammahadaya. He is none other than Professor Atula Pereira. He is Emeritus Professor from the University of Peradeniya, and he is a Senior Professor of Genetics with 40 years of experience in the field. Professor Atula Pereira is also the Chairman of Biotechnology Council of Sri Lanka, Ministry of Scientific Affairs, and a biosafety expert of the Ministry of Environment. So we warmly welcome you to our program Dhammahadaya. Well, so first of all, I just happen to tell our viewers that today's discussion is going to be somewhat different, of course, because we have just introduced you to a gene scientist. So you must be wondering what he's doing with us today. So let me initiate the discussion like this. Now, if I ask you, or if you ask me to describe a person, I would definitely describe him with the characters and traits. He's fair, he's tall, he's handsome, or he's ugly, or he has a long nose. I would describe him that way. Well, if you ask a Buddhist monk why some people are beautiful, why some people are born ugly, why some people have crooked noses, why some people have some parts of their body missing, the monk, as a Buddhist, would say that it is the karma. Well, we would like to hear, I'm sure since you're a scientist, we would like to hear the gene aspect of it and then relate it to Buddhism. So please initiate this discussion.
Yes, thank you very much, Shivandi. Thank you for inviting me. Yes, with 40 years of experience in the study of genes and characters, we normally explain any being, any organism, be it a plant or an animal or a microorganism or a human being, by means of characters, like you said. If you want to describe somebody, we say he's tall, dark, wavy hair, he gets angry soon, and so on. So there are explain organisms, beings, by means of characters, like physical characters. Also there are some characters like behavioral characters. People are extroverts, some people are very quiet, some are very talkative, some get angry soon, and so on. Yeah. So we have these various different types of characters by which we explain beings. Yeah. Now, how do these characters appear? That is what we study in genetics. How do these characters appear? And we now know, through years and years of research, that behind every character is what we call a gene, a genetic material. So we have a gene and we have a character. And how does this character appear? The gene gets expressed to produce a character. The gene gets expressed, it produces a protein that affects a character. A gene, lots of processing, protein, character. I think it's best if you take an example and show you how these characters appear. Let's take, for example, a single hair. A single hair has so many characters. For example, color. The color appears because of the expression of the gene for color. The gene for color produces a protein that gives a color. So some people have black hair, some have brown hair, some are blonde in the world, some have red hair. Of course, today children can go to a salon and get the hair changed to any color they want, but that is not genetics. So, gene for hair color. Then we have the type of hairs. Some have wavy hair, some have curly hair, some have straight hair. And then there's another gene that controls. So that gene expresses a protein that controls the type of hair, whether it's curly hair, wavy, and so on. Then strength of hair. Some have very strong hair, some have hair that breaks off very quickly. Another gene. So these genes express hair characteristics. So in order to explain a human being, for example, how many genes do you require? Hundreds? Thousands? Many thousands of genes. So we have so many genes involved in the characters that explain a human being or a plant or an animal. Today, scientists have identified about 20,000 genes in the human. 20,000 genes. 20,000 genes are not enough to explain a human being. But I'll explain later how these 20,000 genes are enough to explain the different traits of a human or a plant or an animal.
Yeah, and also I think there's this expression of a gene, what the gene expresses.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, if you can.
So, yeah, it's very interesting. So, when we have 20,000 genes, now I would like to ask a question from you who are listening. Are these 20,000 genes in all the cells of a human being? We know that a human being is made up of millions and millions and millions of cells, the building blocks. Are these 20,000 genes found in all the cells? Yes, they are found in all the cells. 20,000 genes that make up a human being. Of course, there are some cells that do not have the genetic material, but generally speaking, all the 20,000 genes are found in all the cells. We start with a single cell. The egg and the sperm in the humans meet and form a single cell, what we call a zygote, and that zygote has these 20,000 genes. Now, they are found in all the cells. So, does that mean that these 20,000 genes function or are expressed all the time in all the cells? No, it cannot be. It cannot be. Let's take another example. Let's take a cell that is necessary, the cell of, say, a heart muscle. Now, that heart muscle, that cell also has 20,000 genes. The heart muscle cell also has the gene for hair color. But that is not expressed throughout the life. So it's switched off, like an electric bulb, switched off. The heart, the gene necessary for the functioning of a heart muscle is also found in the hair, but that is switched off. So genes are switched on and switched off and switched on and switched off throughout our life.
So it's always the necessary gene that is being switched on, and the rest are switched off.
Switched off. So how does this happen? Is there anybody inside our body switching genes on and off? There's nobody. There's no Atma, there's no one inside our body switching genes on and off. So how does it happen then? It happens due to the interaction of these genes with the environment. For example, when we are a zygote, as I told you, and we developed inside the womb of our mother, the environment, womb environment, determines which genes are switched on and which genes are switched off. And which genes are switched on for how long? It depends. So, as they say, healthy mother produces a healthy child. And we also say healthy plants produce healthy seeds. So, it's the interaction of these genes with the environment that switches genes on and off. So, that's inside the womb. Then when we are born, we interact with the outside environment. And as we grow, the home environment, how peaceful the home is. then the school environment, and then the working environment, all those contribute to genes switching on and switching off. And that is why we say, when we want to send a child to a school, parents always say, we want to put the child to a good school. What do you mean by a good school?
A good environment.
Good environment, where the school is well known for discipline, and well known for the environment, where the children are well disciplined, well behaved. Home environment. If you find the father and mother fighting all the time, just imagine the effect on the child. The child's effect is, the child is agitated all the time. How can we have peace? How can the child be in peace? How can the child study when the mind is agitated?
And I have
now I'm talking about the mind.
Yes. I've also heard, just to interrupt you, sir, there, the child being agitated when the parents quarrel with each other. I think even when the child is in the womb,
yes.
I have heard that he or she gets agitated.
Yeah, it has to happen. It happen because the environment changes when somebody is agitated, somebody is angry, somebody is in that situation. What happens? We ourselves will feel, isn't it? The body heats up, the temperature rises, the medical people will look at your pressure and say the pressure has risen, and so on. There's a change in the body when you're agitated, when you're angry, and so many genes are switched on and switched off at that time. Even so, just imagine, it's the mind, isn't it? It's the mind that causes this agitation. It's the mind that makes you angry. So it's the mind thoughts that are causing these genes to switch on and switch off. And then the control of the mind comes there. Not only that, so when they look at the genes being switched on and switched on with time. Now genes that were switched on or switched off while we were in the womb, when we are teenagers, their genes are switched off. And some other genes are switched on. With time, the dimension of time comes here. And time itself switches genes on and off in our system. It is very interesting. So
there is no doer there. There is no doer who switches on and switches off the genes.
There is no doer.
So there is no soul, the anatta concept.
Yes, there's nobody inside us. Just a mass of cells with genes interacting with the environment and getting switched on and switched off. Of course, certainly this is, maybe you can say it is something to do with the beach and niyama, but there are other niyamas that can affect the switching of genes on and off. The karma niyama, the chitta niyama, all those things can be the bunch of
the environment.
Exactly, environment plays a huge role. What we call, my colleagues studying genetics will say, experts say epigenetic factors, outside the collection of genes. And the genes, so they work like an orchestra, in harmony. It's just not one gene independently expressing and no relationship. Oh no, they work like an orchestra. In an orchestra, sometimes the piano plays, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the violins play, sometimes they don't. It's just like that.
And that's how the beautiful music is made.
Yes, the beautiful music is made. The beautiful organism lives in this world with this beautiful expression of these genes with the environment. It's very important.
Yes, sir. So we have been talking about these genes and that every cell in which we are made of, every cell contains roughly around 20,000 genes.
Yes.
Well, I think those who have studied science may understand what a gene is. But if we simply try to explain to everybody what is a gene.
Yes, it's very important to learn a little bit of science, little bit, because we think, we geneticists feel that the study of genes is a study of life. So let's look at what a gene is really. Now, a gene is a part of the genetic material. Genetic material is found, if you look at a cell, a single cell. The cell consists of a nucleus. I think everybody knows, they have heard about a nucleus. And the cytoplasm. At the moment, that's enough. We have a nucleus and the cytoplasm, a cell, every cell. Now, the genetic material is found in the nucleus of the cell. In the nucleus, the genetic material. I'm still talking about the genetic material. And if you look further, the genetic material now we know consists of what is known as a deoxyribose nucleic acid, DNA. Genetic material is what we call the DNA. Well, lots of people have heard about the DNA. Yeah, it's in the nucleus. Now the DNA is acid. It's a chemical. So it cannot really stay there like that. It needs some sort of structure to be on it. So there's a protein around which this DNA material is found, which we call the chromosome. So just for the moment, DNA is the basic structure. Now, what is the DNA made up of? Now the DNA, we call the double helix, is made up of two strands, like two ribbons, and wrapped around it. The ribbons are in the form of a helical structure. If you straighten the ribbons out, you have two straight ribbons, two strands that we call, joined together. Now if you take the building block of each DNA strand, which we call the nucleotide, don't worry about it. If you can remember nucleotide. The nucleotide is made up of a sugar molecule, a phosphate and a base. Just remember, sugar, phosphate, base. Now, the difference between different nucleotides is in the base. There are 4 different bases. Some nucleotides carry G, some carry C, some carry T, some carry A, the 4 different bases. So, the sequence of these bases constitute a DNA molecule, and part of the DNA molecule is the gene. So you have a sequence of bases, say GAA, TT, CA, GG and so on, that constitute a gene that gives some information about which protein should be produced. Normally a gene constitutes about 1,000 of these nucleotides or bases, and the sequence will give information on what type of protein should be produced. So in the DNA molecule, only about 1% or less than 1% constitute genes. The rest of the DNA molecule, most of it constitute the regulation or control of the gene expression. So that's how genes produce proteins. So the gene is a part of the DNA molecule. DNA molecule is found in the nucleus of every cell. If you can remember just that. And the DNA molecule is made up of these nucleotides carrying different bases, and the sequence of those bases will determine what type of protein should be produced. So that's how proteins are produced.
So while talking about the genes, I would also like to ask you, sir, do genes change? Are they subject to change?
Yes, definitely. When we say change, now we are looking at genes at the molecular level. Scientists have not gone to the atomic or subatomic particle level to explain genes. But we know in physics, hardly anything is explained at the molecular level now. Now people are explaining at the subatomic particle level. And we know every one of those, the sugar molecule, the phosphate, the base, can be further divided, further broken down into atomic level, subatomic level, subatomic particle level. Like even calipers. We're talking about calipers. That's scientists are really looking at the final particle that constitute matter. Some say it's called a God particle, but they have come very close to it at the moment. But we know that such particles have been explained long time ago, 2,600 years ago, called calipers. And those calipers are so tiny. 1/456,600 parts of a dust particle. That's small.
Wow.
Yeah. And how long do they exist? 1/1,000,000th of a time that we take to blink an eye.
Okay.
So things change that quickly. Everything is changing that quickly. The genes, when you say can genes during our lifetime change, the gene sequences can change. There are huge physical forces like say UV light or X-rays or of even physically changing it. But generally, gene expression will change. The gene expression will change according to the changes in the environment.
So that is anicca.
That is anicca, is always changing.
So if you just by looking at the genes itself, I think you can proclaim the three lakshana, the anicca, dukkha and anatta.
Definitely. Anatta, we know there's nothing inside, nobody inside changing genes, switching genes off and on. It's just interaction with the environment, and when we say environment, the normal environment, the thought processes can change the expression of genes, the physical environment can change the expression of genes, what we consume can change the expression of genes. Very important. Today people are very concerned about the food that we take in, the chemicals that we take in. Those chemicals can cause genes to switch on and switch off. We don't even know how they happen. The time can change the switch genes on and off. And it is very interesting to find out, okay, why? For example, scientists have found a gene in the roundworm that is responsible for longevity. How long this roundworm lives. And it has been, they have identified this, and now they are trying to see if we switch this gene off, will the roundworm live in that particular state forever? So longevity, they say aging genes, genes that control aging. That gene controls lots of other genes that are responsible for aging. So they are trying to find now a gene, such a gene in humans. To see whether a human can stay young for a long time.
Yeah, I suppose all the beauticians and everybody will be interested.
Oh yeah. It's too late for me, but maybe for others, aging gene, try to, not only can you block or switch genes on, you can switch genes off. These environmental factors can switch genes off. Now there are genes, that's one gene for longevity, gene for aging. There are genes that suppress tumor formation, suppress cancer formation. Genes. And they suppress. If those genes are switched off.
You mean we are naturally born with the genes that suppress?
Yes.
This tumor formation.
Yes, cancer formation. Yes. There are genes already identified involved with breast cancer. BRCA1 gene, BRCA2 gene, responsible for involved with breast cancer. Many such genes have been identified. Involved with cancer formation. Now they find out how are these genes switched on and switched off. Now, for example, there's a region in one gene, 15q24, that is, if that area or that locus or that gene is switched off, people are more susceptible to lung cancer, especially if you're smoking. A smoker is 30 to 80% more susceptible to lung cancer. If that gene is switched off, you're anyway susceptible. But that susceptibility increases so many fold.
So maybe that habit of smoking contributes to switch off the gene. Is it something like that?
Maybe something. But if smoking can increase the susceptibility, if that gene is switched off, if that gene is switched on normally, medical people tell us without any doubt smoking contributes to a lot to lung cancer formation. But if the gene is switched off, you're even more susceptible. 30 to 80% more susceptible to lung cancer. So these are revealing, Shivbaba. I just want to tell you now, this study of genetics is not trying to prove anything. We are not trying to prove anything in the Dhamma. Dhamma is nature. We don't need to prove nature.
I think it's a very important point that you brought out. Yes. We are not trying to prove anything by discussing all this, because you know, sometimes people might think, why do we come and discuss science here and try to, you know, compare and contrast to Buddhism? No, that's not what we're going to do. No. Dhamma is nature, and we don't need to prove anything.
No, nothing. It's just revealing. The Buddha revealed the Four Noble Truths. The study of genetics is a very important study. We want to know how characters are transferred from generation to generation, how the doctors want to know the genetic relationship of diseases. So it's a very important area of study. And during the study of this genetics, it reveals these beautiful aspects of life, of nature. Let's say that, the beautiful aspects of nature, that there's nobody inside us switching genes on and off. And then there's a change in the people. With time, things change. We know that. With time, the hair gets grey and white. That's because some genes are switched off with the dimension of time. We don't know how many other dimensions are working here. And because science, okay, we are trying to explain the world with very little resources. For example, we don't see every aspect of the visual light spectrum. We see only so much. We don't hear all the sounds in the sound spectrum of sound. No, we hear only so much. Same with taste, same with touch. So with these few resources, we are trying to explain the world. It is not easy. It's not. So there have been lots of sort of questions coming when we try to explain. So similarly, when we try to explain the way how characters are transferred from person to person, generation to generation, father to the children, and so on, these things are revealed. The beautiful aspects of life are revealed. It's really wonderful.
Yes, sir. That's lovely explanation. Thank you. And while we were discussing before this program started, you just happened to tell me that all beings are nothing but masses of vibrations. Why do you say so?
Yes, it's very interesting because I remember Albert Einstein said some time ago, he was talking about matter, and he said finally there will be only vibrations. I was wondering what he was trying to say. And now I know that when these scientists study the building blocks of life, when you go from molecules to atoms, subatomic particles, and then we come to the final particle, the kalapas. The kalapas have themselves characteristic features. The four features of apo, tejo, vayu, and the other features like gandha and smell and taste and so on. So they come with these kind of, and how long do they exist? 1 trillionth of a time that you take to blink an eye. Wow. That quickly. So things change that fast. And so therefore it's so small that what it gives to the character is just a vibration. Just a vibration. So we are really not only a mass of cells where genes are switching on and switching off in relation to environmental factors. We are actually a mass of vibrations. Wow. Just vibrating all the time. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And to think that here I am, there's an I here inside us. Absolutely.
And probably it's very disappointing for us to hear that we are nothing but a mass of vibrations, because we consider this I as very important and as a solid, person, a solid mass, but it's just a mass of vibration.
Yes, that's right. It is a mass of vibration, mass of cells forming this body,
changing forever.
Look at the plants, Shivani. It's interesting. Plants have DNA. Oh, then the plants have DNA. We have DNA. So what's the difference between plants? Plants, so far as science has shown, plants don't have that power to think. They don't have that. The scientists think that the plants don't have, so far, all the studies have shown, they don't have the power to think. If you can't think, can you move? You can't move if you can't think.
No.
Even when you can think, it's very dangerous to move. Even it's dangerous to cross a zebra crossing these days. You can't move. If you can't move, then how can you exist? Yeah, you are in the same place, then you have to produce your own food. So the plants produce their own food. There's a little movement in relation to changes in environment. When there's a shade, the plants tend to move towards the sunlight. And so on, then they respond to chemicals, fertilizer and so on. Yeah, all this switching on and switching off of genes. Interesting.
Yes. So, and if we talk about this, the future of the gene technology, and most people believe that it's going to be very dangerous, that they are going to create mutants, and as we see in lots of science fiction, what is your belief, the future of gene technology?
Yes, it is very interesting. Now scientists are able to identify genes. Like I said, scientists have identified over 20,000 genes in the human. The human DNA, the collection of DNA, the total amount of DNA in a single cell, we call the genome. Good for young people to know this, a genome. So, 20,000 genes. Now, they have identified genes in plants, in microbes, in all living beings. Now, with this technology, the genetic engineering technology, it is possible to isolate or separate out the gene from the genome or the DNA. You can separate it out, multiply it, and insert it into the DNA of another organism, which we call genetically modified organism. Now, for example, the gene, human gene that produces insulin, has now been separated, taken out, and this has been fixed to the DNA of a bacterium. Now the bacterium produces human insulin in large amounts. It's fantastic. People who have genes that don't function properly, it is possible for some of these cases to take the proper functioning gene and try to spray it into some soft tissue, so it goes and gets attached and produces that protein that doesn't function. It's called gene therapy. We can discuss it later. It's very complicated, but it's being done. So scientists can separate and isolate these genes and insert them into the DNA of other organisms. It has been done. It is being done in large amounts today. So what of the future? What can happen in the future? Oh, it's like a dream. You can close your eyes and think of something, and that is possible. I think the future is going to be something like a strange science fiction film. Scientists may take genes from cheetahs and horses and create humans with those genes who will run so fast as cheetahs and horses. And the Olympic 100 meters will be measured in maybe milliseconds and not seconds. It can happen. We thought these were jokes when these things were told 20, 30 years ago. Now it's real. It is real. It can happen. You can design your own baby. What we call designer babies. You get married and go to a doctor. Maybe you go to meet a scientist. and sit with the scientists, and the scientists, okay, what type of child do you want, a girl or a boy? And say, oh, shall we have a girl? Because they click, 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 click on his laptop, and he say, click, okay. Then he will ask, okay, you want a child with black hair or brown hair or blonde? And he say, shall we have brown? Okay, so say, click, 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 okay, brown hair. And what type of eyes do you have? Blue, one brown, or click, click, click. And what type of nose, you can select from this list. Here, look, 3G2, okay. You can, and like that, you can design your own babies, own children. And, then you go home. And months later, somebody will come and press the doorbell, and like bringing a pizza, they will bring your baby designed the way you want. It can happen. And things like that can happen. Then again, the DNA molecule that you have, that I have, is different from you have, what you have. The sequences are different. Then you can find that now. You can sequence your genome, as we say, your DNA. Find out you start with A, T, T, G, C, D, T, A. 3 billion of those bases can be what we call sequenced, and a map can be made, your DNA map. You can have that. And doctors especially can find, looking at that map, whether there are any disturbing, dysfunctioning genes.
Hereditary
problems. And they can treat you. It's sometimes called pharmacogenomics, where the doctor will give you a specific drug looking at your DNA sequence. For you, this is for Atula Pereira, not for anybody else. They looked at my DNA sequence and found, this can be treated. Individual people can be treated for various diseases. It's fantastic. You can find out why these genes for breast cancers or cancer suppression is switched off, and find a means of switching it on. In the human genetics field, it's fantastic. They have done wonderful things. So you can it's like open. You can do that, and switch genes, exchange genes. But take DNA, what we call the DNA profile or DNA map, the sequence of the 3 billion. Okay? Some good things can happen, like in the medical field. But then again, like any technology, people can make use of this in certain unfavorable ways. Take it for example, when you apply for a job in 20, 30 years' time, they will ask for your CV, and also please send your genetic map. It can happen. And then they will look at your genetic map. They'll get a consultant, a specialist to look at that and tell us whether there are any specific areas there that are not suitable. It can affect your even marriage. In 20, 30 years' time, the parents will ask her, please send your photograph and your horoscope and your DNA map. And then it can. So, people can misuse this technology. So, we have to be very, very careful. Very careful. Have the safety precautions early, rather than having them late. Just safety precautions. These are wonderful techniques, wonderful technology. We can do wonderful things to improve our agriculture, improve the health of these people, knowing how genes switched on and switched off, and help the scientists who are doing this work. In this country, there are fantastic specialists. I know there are my colleagues in the medical faculty who are experts in these areas, in the agriculture and sciences. They are experts. They know. And if we can get them to come together and how to make use of this technology in a safe manner for our people, and then you can do wonders.
I think that's very important for a country's development as well. Well, sir, now, as you said, through the gene technology, we might be able to design our babies. But do you not think that, after all, we live in a world of illusion?
Yes. Most of the time, Sevandi, most of the time we live in a world of illusion. We don't want to see the truth. We don't want to see the real things that are happening. Always, most of the time I would say, in a world of illusion. Take for example the beautiful natural thing like the sunset. What do you see in the sunset? If I ask somebody, what do you see in the sunset? You go down to Mount Ravinia, Dehiwala, Ratnalani area and sit on those rocks on the beach and watch the sunset. What do you see? You see the sun going down into the sea. That's an illusion. It's an illusion. Sun doesn't go down anywhere into the sea. There are songs about this, there's poetry.
Don't let the sun go down on me.
And the Sunset Boulevard and so on, you know. It's an illusion. Next time, go there and watch this beautiful sunset. What is the real thing that is happening? Don't watch the sun. Watch the horizon against the sun. Watch the horizon. And you will see the horizon is moving. The world is turning. It's a beautiful sight. It's one of the most beautiful sights. This world is huge thing is turning. I never believed that the world could turn. So when I was small, so
you mean if you look at it in that angle, you can enjoy the scene more.
Wonderful.
Really?
Wonderful. Okay. You will get amazed. My goodness, this world is turning. Yeah, it's so beautiful. See what is real. See the real thing. So to see the real thing, the reality, you need to, you know, prepare your mind for it. Your mind has to be strong and pure to see this. Otherwise you continue to live in a world of illusion. Your mind has to be very pure so that you will not get, for example, not to get agitated. When you are agitated, lots of genes get switched on and switched off. How can you not get agitated? In your daily life, you know, your wife is preparing breakfast and you have no time, it's getting delayed, you rush out, slam the door and get angry, you are agitated, your wife is agitated, you can't do your job properly, your pressure increases, driving in Colombo, people get agitated, you know, all the time. Look at their faces, you can see that when you're driving Colombo. People are agitated, you know, due to the traffic congestion. So, to see the real thing, you need to clear your mind. It's very important. Stress can, we know, switch genes on and off. Maybe it is stress that is switching off very important genes and switching on. I know lots of students be close to exam time in the university, they get gastritis. They're agitated, you know, and lots of them are found in the health center getting treated for gastritis. Lots of genes are switched on and gastric juices are produced. You are not eating, you can't eat properly, you drink. Somebody says your friend has told something about you that's not good, you are agitated. And lots of these genes get switched on and switched off and it gets destroyed. Then the food that you take, you know, you take a chemical inside. Or say some chemical that is with the food. Now, the genetic system, the genes have an ability during the processing to produce a new protein that can neutralize this chemical. They can do that. They can do that. A new virus or a bacterium comes into your system. Now, are there antibodies that the system has? Maybe not for that particular. But the genetic immune system, the genes in the immune system can, during processing, produce an antibody for that. The immune system can produce 10 to the power 21 different antibodies.
Wow.
But a gene can produce only so much. A gene can produce a little. What happens if the genetic system cannot produce such a thing? then that germ or that hazard is going to destroy your system. So that is why everybody is concerned about food, about toxins in foods, in the water, in the milk. It is a real thing. No? Those toxins, those chemicals can cause a lot of damage if your system cannot manage to neutralize them or to form antibodies. Although it is such a fantastic thing, this genetic system, this orchestra that can produce antibodies or proteins that can neutralize whatever you're taking. But there's a limit to it, like any other thing. And if it cannot, then you're going to get a lot of damage.
Well, I suppose that's why people are, more or less going for organic food.
That's right.
And, natural stuff and things like even these beauty products made of natural stuff. So, and also, sir, and we talked about cancer, and people say certain foods like manioc are good for cancer. They say there is a belief that certain types of food and certain types of paddy, the rice, are good for cancer. So maybe they contribute in switching on
Definitely.
on the suppression gene.
That's right. Maybe that is how it works. Now, for example, like you mentioned, traditional rice varieties. There are more than 2,500 traditional rice varieties of Sri Lanka. And they have, some of these traditional varieties have very specific genes. Very specific. Most of them are medicinal values. Say, you have a upset stomach, and in the good old days, somebody will say, you take this variety of rice, make a candle out of it, and drink some of that, and it'll
help.
Help. There are many such things. Maybe, yes, help in changing the environment in the stomach so that the gene system interacts with it and switches genes, appropriate genes on and off. That is what is happening. That's why it is very important that the nutrients that we take in, starting from the water to our food that we take in, make sure that they are safe, that for the system, so that the human being will carry out its daily activities in a very stable manner, like the beautiful orchestra that is functioning.
Wow. So we have just a couple of minutes, just 2 or 3 minutes. I would like you to sum up, or if there is any particular message that you would like to give out of this discussion.
Yes, genetics has shown us a lot of things of life, and first thing is to make sure that you see reality as it is. Not live in a world of illusion, see the real things, and make sure that your system is stable and works properly, that your orchestra functions beautifully, giving this beautiful music, and most of all the mind, the thought processes, not to get agitated, not to go into anger and greed and anger and aversion. See that you concentrate properly. Just take Sawandi, the cricket team that won the T20 World Cup. A lot of things we can learn. The way Kumar Sangakkara batted with 100% concentration. Look at his face. 100% concentration. Look at Malinga bowling. 100% concentration. I'm going to send this ball exactly there, and he sent it. And lots of things we can learn from them. How to concentrate. They never had fear or anger in their minds or faces. And look at Dinesh Chandimal, not being selfish. Giving his captaincy to a person who is ready to take it. Wonderful characters, so young. These people are showing us so many wonderful things. So make sure that you clean your body and also clean your mind. A little bit of meditation like Anapanasati every morning, every evening, it helps, especially the young people, to see things as they really are and to live a happy and peaceful life.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for that very, very interesting and very fruitful Dhamma discussion. So, while thanking Professor Atula Pereira for dedicating his precious time on behalf of you, on behalf of all the viewers of the Buddhist TV, we would like you to write in your questions, your comments. You know our address, the producer, Mahadaya, the Buddhist TV, Sri Sambodhi Vihara, R.J. Senanayaka Mawata, Colombo 7. The producer, Mahadaya, the Buddhist TV, Sri Sambodhi Vihara, R.J. Senanayaka Mawata, Colombo 7. So let us meet again, and as we put a comma to this program, let us meet again the next Monday with yet another interesting discussion. May the most noble Triple Gem bless you.